Hey guys, what's up? All right. It's Double Deuce back with another episode of Radio Out of Control. Today's episode is going to be on the longevity of our tires and how we can care for them and what happens when you don't. So here we go. And we're back. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Like I say, today's episode is going to be on our tires. And, I got a ton of tires. I've collected them since the 80s, since the early days. And you'll see back there in that bin behind these tires here are some really old school tires back there. A lot of Tamiya and MX and Pro Lines and all that stuff from way back in the day. And the reason I wanted to do this video was because I've been a collector for years. Okay, this has been, in my blood, and so anytime I've seen something unique through the years, like if I could afford it, I grabbed it, and some stuff I ran and bashed, and other stuff I put away, and like I say, me and the kids were heavily into it at the time too. So I had bought this kit from Kyosho. It was called the Nitro Brute, and well, of course, motor popped in it right away, and it was plastic. I don't know what they were thinking when they built it. It was fun for about maybe a week, and so anyways, I put it in a box, and I said, you know what, someday I'll get it out. But when I put something away, I always remove the tires, and I store them separately in like a plastic storage bin that Tupperware thing like that kind of keeps it away from the humidity and air and all that stuff. So long story short, I go to grab these tires out of my little bin there. Now I got foam tires in there and everything. There's like old school foams and all that stuff. So all these tires are in one bin together, and I found out some things about that. It's really not cool. As you can see in there's a lot of old tires in there. Got a lot of, what's that, Murray Big Bear tires. I got the foam tires. I got spikes, and like I say, Duratrax and whatnots, and a lot of aftermarket stuff too. However, when I went to, I had the Nitro Brute tires in there, and they were all kind of stacked neatly in the corner. I opened up the container, and I had pulled the tires out because they were a really nice Bridgestone design on them, and they look similar. Let me get this real here quick for you. They look similar to kind of this, whoops, knocking the camera over on us. It looks similar to this TerraTrail. They look almost identical to these tires here, and this is off the Royal Crusher. You can see this thing's seen the weenie too. This is an old Royal Crusher from back in the day. It's a two-wheel drive monster truck, but the tires looked almost just like that, except they were Bridgestones, and they had a really nice soft compound on them. And so one thing I had, I was playing with the Bruiser all the time, and so I was always going through different tires on the thing and trying them on to kind of see, how it handled with different sets of tires, and how it crawled and all that stuff back then. So long story short, again, I'm back to I pull out the Bridgestones, and this is what they did. They actually just turned to goo as soon as they hit the air, and just melted straight down on top of my container box over there. And it was unbelievable. These have dried out now a little bit. These were just liquid, sticky mess. And I actually had to throw the lid to the container away because whatever was in these tires had like melted the top of it wherever they were sitting. And it's just, you know, when you go out and you buy some tires and stuff, and you know, say you buy the G-Airs, okay, you know, really cool. Spend a lot of money for these G-Air tire setups, right? And then, you know, so say 10 years down the road, you say, hey, you know what, I think I'll use them G-Airs on a project, because they probably won't make them anymore. And then they look like that, you know, when you pull them out. And so I thought about that, and it's like, okay, so, you know, here's your mud thrashers from RC four-wheel drive. They have a really nice soft, you know, composite to them, and, you know, they're very flexible. And but what are they made of, you know? And it's like, you know, so I grabbed a bunch of different tires here, okay? And these are from RC four-wheel drive. These are the Mudslingers. You know, now I remember these things being really soft, and now they're kind of getting hard because they've been out for a couple of years, you know. And so I noticed some of my Bruiser tires that were in a tote box were actually cracking from age. And, you know, these here were off the actual Wraith. And I don't even know what they are. Extreme Off-Road. I bought these because I bought the Vanquish wheels, and I bought these through Vanquish. But they say RC four-wheel drive on them, so I don't know, because I bought other ones too. And I noticed these are starting to get stiff, you know, from setting out. And these are your TSL Super Swampers that, you know, you can get, and they're still nice and pliable. But what I'm afraid of is one thing I learned, okay, from what I did on my research was there's like certain things affect the longevity of rubber. One is UV light, 2 is heat, 3 is humidity, and the 4th one I think was cold. You know, the cold because of the elasticity of the rubber, and if you're running it, you know, they crack. But I noticed like some tires, for instance, the ones up there, like most of my Tamiya tires that I have, they don't get flat spots when they set for a long time. And those are the MX tires up there I got on my old Bruiser, and they're still fine. You know, they're got a little hard over the years. But so when you let these things set, all of a sudden you start running it, and it's got this thump, thump, thump going on in the thing. Now, I just went through that with, my Super Scale HGP 407 that I built. It was in the back of a rental car for about a week, and actually I took both builds with me. And when I pulled them out, because I didn't get to run them down home, I wanted to kind of take them out up here and just start doing some videos with them. And all of them had flat spots on the tires. So I don't know if it was from the heat from sitting in the back of the rental all week, because it was 90 plus degrees down where I was. But it was a lot of, you know, it just wasn't good for the video, and so I didn't do it, because I wanted to come up with some run videos for you guys. But now a lot of the wheel or tire manufacturers, okay, now these here are a rip-off tire for the T-Max. Now these are the T-Max tires, you know, and they're still soft and pliable. But what I'm saying is, it's like, so if these tires start getting old, okay, and you're running a high-powered brushless system or a nitro motor on these things are just going to blow apart in pieces. And so, like I said, we don't know what the tires are made of, but some manufacturers have a really nice bag that the tires come in, and inside that bag they have a silicone gel pack to absorb any humidity that goes in there. So don't throw those things away from now on. Save them, because I used to throw them away. And then I realized that you know, some manufacturers actually have little boxes on the bags where you can take a black marker and note, you know, when you opened it, and you know how many runs that the tires have on them. And because in the racing side of the RC hobby, it's gotten pretty intense, you know. So these guys have a, you know, a tote like that full of the same exact tire and wheel combination that they run out on the tracks for competition. And how do they know which one's the newest one, which one's the oldest ones, and all that stuff? They don't. So if you can put them in a Ziploc bag, like a freezer bag or something. And another thing that I did learn about, and this was from, it was a website from Canada, kind of like a government website on how to, you know, prolong the life of rubber. So, and anybody knows, if you get in an old car, like all the weather stripping and stuff's all cracked on it, and you know, that's from the UV light, the heat, the cold, and they do dry out. And a lot of people, they say, oh, you put WD-40 on them. Don't do that. Do not put WD-40 on it, because if you have any kind of simulated chrome on, you know, your wheel, that WD-40 and Armor All will start, especially Armor All. It's the worst. It'll take the chrome right off your plastic wheel. WD-40, it basically seals the wheel in, but when it dries, it leaves a coating on the outside of the tire, and it actually does it more harm, because now the rubber can't breathe, so it starts breaking down internally, from what I read. And so from what I understand, a nice clean, like, don't use dish soap, because that removes grease, okay? Use just regular antibacterial soap you can get to wash your hands with, you know, whether it smells like grandma's bathroom or whatever, who cares? But if you put that into like a sink of water, and you know, you can put your tire in there and give it a nice scrubbing and all that stuff. But here's what I was trying to tell you guys. Now, this tire had set on a rim, okay, in a guy's basement, and look what happened. You see the cracks? You know, just because the tire set like that, and it just cracked over time. And then, you know, so you can try super glue them, it doesn't do anything, you know what I mean? It falls right off. I don't expect these tires to last at all, to be honest with you. Even though there's some really nice, good sized tires, I mean, these are like, you know, way bigger than the Clodbuster tires, and that's why I wanted them. But after I seen that they were no good, you know, I think this come off a New Bright, one of them Dodge monster trucks, I think is what these come off of. And I also learned that all these tires are made up of different compounds. So when you have them all trapped in one big container, like I had mine, they all release gases as they decompose, because rubber decomposes no matter what. And it all depends on what the tire is made of. So now these are the old Blackfoot tires. These are more of a vinyl rubber, you know, and that's why they crack. But these are still pretty soft for as old as they are, because these are from like 1988, I believe, you know. And of course, like I say, your T-Max. Now these are your RC 4-wheel drive mudslingers, and but now, you know, these are rubber, and depends on the rubber compound, you know. And, you know, like I say, the shininess has gone away, because now the tire has been exposed to air, humidity, light, heat, and all that stuff. And now this here is off a New Bright RC. Okay, now this is a vinyl rubber tire, you know. It's made out of like a, you know, a pliable vinyl basically, and it's like the old Monogram model kits and all that stuff, you know, all them gator back tires they came on them IROCs and the Corvettes and stuff, they were all vinyl also. And like I say, these here, you know, you can look inside and you can see, you know, kind of like what the compound, you know, is made of and how it's made. Now they got belted tires with belts inside of them, you know, for the brushless scene and all that. And you know, it's a it's a whole new experience here. But you know, like I say, it is what it is. So but you know, you get all these together and they're all, if you don't put them in a plastic bag and you know, poke a little hole in it so it can breathe, and put a little, if you have any of those silicone moisture packets, you know, like I say, I used to throw all mine away. Now I'm going to save them, and that way you can, you know, throw them in the bag, poke a little hole in it so it can breathe, and you know, that way there it doesn't really get to a lot of humidity or air, and it's not sealed up inside, trapped in its own gases, because that right there I think would be devastating for the tire. And it also depends, I mean, if you look at this photo right here, it depends on where you run your rigs at. Now you see those tires are just coated with mud, you know. Now what's in the dirt that we're running through? You know, salt, you know, it's like, you know, it could be many chemicals that we're running through, depends on where you run them at, you know, which is going to affect the longevity of the life of the rubber. So keep that in mind also. And but you know, so if you know, my suggestion is, if you want to keep your tires nice, get a can of silicone, okay, because the silicone is what they treat the molds with when they make the tire. So when you pull the tire freshly out of the bag, it has a little bit of a kind of a slippery feel to it, you know what I mean? And so when you're done, you know, if you want to store the tires for a while, and you want to, you know, you're not going to come back to them for a while, hit them with some silicone, because silicone won't hurt the rims, it won't hurt none of that stuff, you know what I mean? If anything, it'll keep the corrosion away too. Just like WD-40 does. WD-40 keeps the humidity out for a while, but it leaves a coating on it. And so if you just use regular silicone spray and just lightly hit the tires, you don't have to hose them down, just lightly hit them, it'll keep the tires pliable. And there is a product from the Worth Corporation. They're in the automotive industry, and I use a lot of their products at work, and they do have a rubber care and a reconditioner, and you can search that on Amazon or eBay, because I don't have any of the containers there I would show you. But like I say, the you know, when you want to put your rigs away and then all of a sudden you bring them back out and then you got that, you know what, it's like, wow, you know. So that was my video on that. And so, you know, any questions or comments, or, you know, tell me how you guys you know, store your tires and stuff, or how you take care of them, because I'd like to know. Because to me, you know, back in the old days, you didn't care about them, you know, you just went out and ran them, and you didn't think all this stuff was going to happen. But as time goes on, you know, now you learn to, you know, it's kind of like when you were 18 years old, hey, you could do whatever you wanted to do, but as you get older in life, it sucks, you know. And there are days I get up and I feel like this goddamn tire right here, you know what I mean? And so, but anywho, like, share, subscribe if you want. And, you know, any questions, comments, feel free to throw them at me. And like you say, you know, throw me a quick comment on how you take care of your rigs when you store them. So, all right, dudes, you guys have a good weekend. It's Denny. I'm out of here. Adios.